In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there is a giant steel wall moving toward you. It's a ship the size of a skyscraper, carrying 20,000 identical metal boxes. If just one of those boxes doesn't arrive on time, your local grocery store runs out of produce. The price of your next smartphone jumps by $200, and a factory on the other side of the planet shuts down. We live in a world of complex algorithms and high-speed fiber optics, yet our entire civilization is held together by a piece of technology so simple a child could have designed it. This is the story of the $10,000 box that runs the world, and why the global economy is currently one mistake away from a total collapse. Most people look at a shipping container and see a trash can for the sea, but in the next 30 minutes, you're going to see how this single invention did more to create the modern world than the internet, the steam engine, or the printing press. We're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible plumbing of the global economy. You'll see why your made-in-China sneakers are actually a miracle of physics, how a single man's frustration revolutionized the concept of wealth, and the terrifying reality of what happens when this perfectly tuned machine finally hits its breaking point. If you want to understand why your money doesn't go as far as it used to, you have to understand the box. Think about the last thing you bought. Maybe it's the phone in your hand or the coffee machine on your desk. For most of human history, that object would have been impossible to own, not because of the technology inside it, but because of the cost of moving it. Before the 1950s, shipping was a nightmare of human sweat and wasted time. If you wanted to send a crate of whiskey from London to New York, men had to manually carry every single bottle. They'd lug sacks of flour, barrels of oil, and crates of mirrors one by one into the dark, cramped hull of a wooden ship. It was slow, it was dangerous, and it was incredibly expensive. In fact, the cost of moving goods was so high that international trade was a luxury reserved only for the ultra-elite. Then came Malcolm McLean. He wasn't a sailor or an engineer, he was a truck driver. In 1937, McLean sat at a dock for hours, watching workers slowly move tiny bags of cotton from his truck onto a ship. He realized that his truck was basically just a box on wheels. Why not just take the whole box off the truck and put it on the ship? It sounds obvious now, but at the time, people thought he was insane. He was fighting against centuries of tradition and powerful labor unions. But McLean gambled everything he had on a simple idea: intermodality, the ability for a cargo unit to move from a truck to a train to a ship without ever being opened. When the first container ship, the Ideal X, set sail in 1956, it changed the math of the planet forever. Before the container, loading a ship cost about $5.83 per ton. After McLean's box took over, that cost plummeted to just $0.16 per ton. In an instant, the world got smaller. Distance was no longer a barrier to business. This is the moment the local economy died and the global machine was born. But how does a simple steel box actually dictate the price of your milk? To understand that, we have to look at the geometry of efficiency. The modern shipping container is standardized down to the millimeter. It is the ultimate Lego brick of the global economy. Because every container is exactly the same size, every crane in every port on Earth is built to fit it, every truck bed is built to haul it, every cargo ship is built to stack them like a giant game of Tetris. This standardization creates a phenomenon called the economy of scale. Imagine you're trying to move a single television across the ocean. If you hire a guy to row it across in a boat, it'll cost you thousands of dollars. But if you put that TV in a container with 1,000 other TVs, on a ship carrying 20,000 containers, the cost of shipping that individual TV drops to pennies. This is why it's often cheaper for a company in Scotland to catch cod, ship it 10,000 miles to China to be filleted, and then ship it 10,000 miles back to Scotland to be sold, rather than filleting it locally. The box has made distance effectively free. But this efficiency is a double-edged sword. We've built a system that is perfectly optimized for cost, but it has zero margin for error. We've traded resilience for speed. This is what economists call just-in-time manufacturing. In the old days, companies kept huge warehouses full of extra parts just in case something went wrong. But warehouses are expensive. With the shipping container, the warehouse is now the ocean. The parts for your car are currently floating somewhere in the Atlantic, timed to arrive at the factory exactly 3 hours before they're needed on the assembly line. It's a beautiful, synchronized dance until someone trips. Do you remember when the Ever Given got stuck in the Suez Canal? For 6 days, a single ship blocked 12% of global trade. That wasn't just a funny meme, it was a cardiac arrest for the global economy. Because we've squeezed every bit of waste out of the system, there is no backup plan. When the canal closed, billions of dollars in trade simply evaporated. Factories in Germany stopped because they were missing a specific type of screw from Vietnam. Prices at your local hardware store spiked because the containers were stuck in a literal traffic jam at sea. This brings us to the dark side of the box, the empty container crisis. You'd think that if you ship a box of iPhones from Shanghai to Los Angeles, you'd just fill the box with American grain and ship it back. But the global trade balance is broken. The US buys so much more than it sells that it's often faster and cheaper for shipping companies to send empty containers back to Asia as quickly as possible, rather than waiting for American farmers to fill them up. Think about the insanity of that. We are spending massive amounts of fuel and energy to move thousands of tons of empty air across the ocean, just so the next cycle of consumerism can start on time. This creates a massive bottleneck. Farmers in the Midwest can't export their crops because there are no boxes available, while mountains of empty steel are piling up in California ports. It's a systemic glitch that reveals how fragile our wealth really is. And then there's the human cost. The box didn't just kill the old way of shipping. It killed the port city. Places like London, New York, and Liverpool used to be defined by their docks. Tens of thousands of men worked those piers. It was a community, a culture, and a path to the middle class. The container replaced those tens of thousands of men with a handful of giant computer-operated cranes. The docks moved away from the cities to deep water ports, leaving behind empty warehouses that were eventually turned into expensive lofts for the people who got rich off the very system that destroyed the dock worker's life. The box also facilitated a race to the bottom. Because shipping is so cheap, companies no longer have to care about local labor laws or environmental regulations. If a factory in one country asks for a living wage, the company can just move the equipment into a container and ship the entire operation to a country with fewer protections. The container is the vehicle of offshoring. It allowed the West to outsource its pollution and its poverty to the East, while keeping the shiny, finished products for itself. But the most chilling part of the shipping container story is its role in the shadow economy. These boxes are the perfect camouflage. At any given moment, there are roughly 20 million containers moving across the sea. Authorities can only afford to inspect less than 2% of them. That means the other 98% are essentially dark matter. They carry everything from counterfeit electronics and illegal timber to more sinister cargo. The box that brings you your holiday gifts is the same box that fuels global black markets. And because the system is designed for speed, we simply can't afford to stop and look inside. So, where does this leave you? You might think that as long as your Amazon package arrives on time, the system is working. But we are currently entering an era of the Great Reshoring. Governments are realizing that relying on a 12,000-mile-long supply chain held together by cheap steel boxes is a national security risk. When a pandemic or a war hits, that just-in-time efficiency turns into just-too-late disaster. We are seeing the beginning of the end of the ultra-cheap shipping era. As fuel costs rise, as carbon taxes are implemented on giant cargo ships, and as geopolitical tensions make the oceans less safe, the cost of that $10,000 box is going up. And when the cost of the box goes up, the cost of everything goes up. The era of the $5 t-shirt and the $10 toaster is a historical anomaly made possible by one specific invention, and that era is fading. The shipping container taught us that you can build a global empire on efficiency, but efficiency is not the same thing as stability. We have built a world that is incredibly fast, but incredibly thin. We are all passengers on a giant cargo ship we didn't choose to board, hoping that the stacks of steel don't tip over. Next time you see a shipping container on the back of a truck, don't just see a metal box. See the ghost of a dock worker. See the carbon footprint of a 1,000-mile journey. See the delicate thread that connects your morning routine to a factory worker in Shenzhen and a sailor in the Indian Ocean. Our world is made of these boxes, and our future depends on whether we can keep them moving, or if we finally reach the limit of of what the box can carry. The system was designed to be invisible, but now that you've seen the machinery, you can't unsee it. We traded our local resilience for global convenience, and the bill is finally coming due. The question isn't whether the box will continue to run the world. The question is, what happens to us when the world outgrows the box? The box changed everything. It made us richer, it made us faster, and it made us more connected. But it also made us vulnerable. We are now a civilization that knows the price of everything, but the value of nothing, unless it fits inside a 20-foot steel container. In the end, Malcolm McLean got what he wanted. He moved the world. But as those 20,000 boxes continue to stack up higher and higher toward the sky, we have to wonder, how much more weight can the foundation actually take before the whole stack comes crashing down?